Hey guys, it's Rob here and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to talk about some pretty interesting things that have been happening for the Nintendo Switch 2 when it comes to the frame rate of the Nintendo Switch 2, specifically what it can do, if it has HDR, stuff like that, because there are some rumors on that floating around, and also, equally exciting, some AI upscaling for Nintendo Switch games. A patent was found recently, and it's pretty exciting for current Nintendo Switch games, and of course, future Nintendo Switch games, and also third-party games too. Just overall Nintendo Switch games, I would say. If you guys end up enjoying this video, make sure you leave a like. It helps the video reach more viewers when you do, and of course subscribe for more videos just like this. So the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct is gonna be happening really soon. It's about, I think, a week and a half by now. It's gonna be on April 2nd, so that's really exciting. We're gonna see a bunch of different games. We're gonna see what's so good about the Nintendo Switch 2, how it differentiates itself. Wow, I said that wrong. How it's different from the original Nintendo Switch. And overall, it's just gonna be a fun time because, you know, it's the Nintendo Switch 2. It's the next generation of Nintendo. That means Nintendo is gonna be revealing all these crazy games over the next 4 or 5 years. And as we get closer to the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct, we are getting a bunch of rumors and leaks. And this is just the recent one. Now, this is from universonintendo.com, and it is translated, so the words might be a little broken. I'll try to fix them up and make sure it just makes sense. I'm using Google Chrome Automatic Translator, so sometimes that doesn't really 100% work. But anyways, this is what Universal Nintendo has to say. Rumors about the specification of the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 console continue shortly before its full unveiling following a series of posts on the Family board. According to Secret Boy, who has already predicted the device's CPU performance in January, the new generation will feature an LCD screen capable of operating at 120Hz, as well as supporting HDR and VRR technology that promises an improved visual experience and smoother gameplay. So that right there off the bat already is really fantastic news. Now, that doesn't mean every single game is going to be 120Hz, of course. Just like how the original Nintendo Switch is capable of higher frame rates and resolutions, not every game ran at the highest capable frame rate and resolution that the Nintendo Switch can do in docked mode and handheld mode. So don't expect every single game to do that. I mean, the PS5 doesn't even do that, and the Xbox Series X. But with that being said, it is very promising that it has the capability of doing that, because then that gives developers more capabilities to make the games just run better. And I think that's one of the most important things for any portable device, is that the games do run good. I have complained a lot about a lot of the Nintendo Switch games when they have either just muddy visuals, you know, frame rate issues, the issues that Nintendo Switch games can have, even the games that aren't like ports that are like Doom and The Witcher 3, games like The Legend of Zelda Age of Calamity. This would really help out on those games if they do end up getting any upgrades. But anyways, continuing. In the first post, Secret Boy stated that the console would be equipped with a 120Hz display and VRR, which would benefit the handheld mode of games, allowing developers to optimize titles to run at 40 FPS with greater stability. According to him, these features would be essential to smooth out frame rate drops and better visual response during matches. And his direct quote on the second post is, "I heard that the display supports 120Hz in VRR, which would help a lot in handheld mode." Now, the article continues to say, additionally, Secret Boy commented on the GPU's performance, mentioning numbers close to the recently released values, 3 teraflops in docked mode and about half that value in portable mode. And his direct quote was, "People should really be prepared for 3 teraflops in docked mode and about half that in portable mode. I don't expect you to believe it, but that's what the final specs are." Now, this does line up with what we've heard about past leaks when it comes to the specs of the Nintendo Switch 2. They said that it's close to the Xbox Series S, if you guys remember that, and the Xbox Series S is 4 teraflops. Now, when you add things like upscaling with NVIDIA's tech and just overall optimization on certain games, some companies don't really optimize their games too well, but we know that a lot of games on the current Nintendo Switch can have a chance to be optimized really well and run well, depending on the game, of course. But anyways, let's continue. The user then reaffirms with conviction that the Nintendo Switch 2 will indeed have a screen with a 120Hz refresh rate, support for HDR and VRR, and that the display will be one of the LCD types. Now, specifically when it comes to that, whether it's going to be like OLED or I was supposed to say DLC for some reason, LCD, I think that makes a lot of sense business-wise. I would love the Nintendo Switch 2 to launch with OLED, don't get me wrong, but more than likely what Nintendo is going to do and what I think they're going to do, you guys can tell me if you disagree with me or agree with me in the comment section below. I think what they're probably going to eventually do is make the Nintendo Switch 2 OLED version just like they did with the original Nintendo Switch, so they're starting with LCD first and then moving to OLED. Could be wrong. Maybe people don't agree with me, but I think that's what Nintendo is probably going to do. But anyways, his direct quote was, "Although I will reiterate that the display is 120Hz with HDR and VR support, that's what I'm personally most excited for. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention it's an LCD. I don't know the exact quality of the screen, but I think OLED was always going to be too expensive for the feature set, which they needed to include in the first iteration of the hardware so developers could optimize their games around it." And he says that's speculation. Now, of course, take this all with a huge grain of salt. This could end up being fake. This could end up not what we're getting. Just keep that in mind. I always say that with these kind of things, just consider them fake for now until they end up being proven right. You can still get a little excited, but just don't get ahead of yourself because that's how you get disappointed. Trust me, I'm talking from personal experience, especially when it comes to those Zelda games. With that being said, let's move on to the next thing that kind of does have to do with what they're talking about within this post when it comes to just the potential of the Nintendo Switch 2, when it comes to how things run and how things look. A very interesting patent, and this is something that was rumored for a very, very long time. Another thing from the different leaks and rumors that ended up being true. Anyways, on face value, again, this isn't confirmed by Nintendo, so technically it's still a rumor, but this is what Nintendo Life's article says on the title. AI upscaling on Nintendo Switch 2 is basically real thanks to the updated patent. So this is what they had to say on that. A newly updated patent published on the 13th of March 2025 provides further details to Nintendo's proposed AI resolution upscaling solution for upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 titles. Thanks Game Rant. So if you guys remember, this was something that has been rumored for a very, very long time, that the Nintendo Switch 2 games were going to be getting some kind of Nintendo Switch 2 versions, like The Legend of Zelda, I think it was Breath of the Wild, not Tears of the Kingdom, was shown behind doors running on the Nintendo Switch 2. That's still a rumor. We'll see if that ends up shaping up. There are some findings that do hint that Nintendo is going to do a deluxe edition, essentially, kind of like Xenoblade Chronicles X, but for Breath of the Wild. Putting two and two together, it's a long story. But anyways, my whole point is that this was rumored before, and this just adds to that. But let's continue. Though the idea of AI upscaling for the new console is not a new one, with a previous patent explicitly mentioned NVIDIA's DLSS technology, the latest filing lends even further support to that notion. The patent goes into detail regarding how AI upscaling can be implemented and even includes some tasty diagrams to explain how it all works. Essentially, it states that the native image of 540p can be upscaled via image up conversion, and therefore output a 1080p via the relevant display. So, long story short, you put 540p in, AI upscales it, it ends up looking 1080p. From what I understand, anyways. I could be wrong, and correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong on that. But anyways, continuing. The theory with this is that Nintendo would be able to release games that require less storage than those that would otherwise display natively at a higher resolution. Here's the patent breakdown, and this is what the patent says exactly. Image up conversion is a technique that allows for conversion of images produced in the first resolution. And then they say the 960 by 540 with 0.5 megapixels to a higher resolution, 1080p resolution, 1920 by 1080 with 2.1 megapixels. This process can be used to show images of the first resolution, so that being the lower resolution, 540p, at a higher resolution display. Thus, for example, a 540p image can be displayed at 1080p television, and depending on the nature of the up conversion process, may be shown with increased graphical fidelity fidelity as compared to the 540p image were displayed directly with traditional, e.g. linear upscaling on a 540 television. Now the interesting thing about this is because I feel like there's a lot of potential here. If you guys have ever played any emulators, you know that they do have like upscaling for games that otherwise wouldn't look as good on your screen. And sometimes it makes these games look a lot better. So what I'm kind of running through my head is like not just for Nintendo Switch 2 games, but current games, yes, but like past games as well. So like if they add GameCube games to the Nintendo Switch Online service, can you use that on there as well? When GameCube games are added to the Nintendo Switch Online service, will they do that? If they ever do anyways. Or just current Nintendo Switch Online service games. And also, is there going to be any issues with this? Because AI is not perfect, of course, and it could end up running into some issues on certain games. At least I think it can. Again, correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong, but there probably could be issues with this. It's very exciting though, if I have to say so myself. He's like, man, if you've ever played Breath of the Wild on PC, it looks amazing. It just feels different. I don't know how to put. I don't know if it's just the higher resolution. I don't know if it's the higher frame rate or it's just all together. I don't know, but just playing it on PC feels just better in my personal opinion, and I've had that opinion since day one. So if we can kind of get a portable version of that, I mean, especially if it's like a free upgrade, if you already own the original game and you just pop the cartridge in and you just get that upgrade, that would be really, really, really cool. Because remember, these games are backwards compatible too, so it's going to be really exciting to see what Nintendo does with this. And we don't have to wait that long. That's what's so exciting about this. Like, if we end up getting that showcased at the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, showcasing games getting upscaled and running better and stuff, I'm going to be very excited. I'm going to be excited about the new games too, but I'm also equally excited to play a lot of these games on my Nintendo Switch 2, if I can even get one. Who knows? We'll see what happens with how much Nintendo Switch 2s are available, and of course there's going to be the scalpers too. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about these two stories in the comment section below. The AI upscaling, what games would you like to see look better and run better on the Nintendo Switch 2? And also, what do you think about the leaked specs for the LCD screen and all of that great stuff that we covered in the beginning of this video? Let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.